welcome to Ek Samvad at Arunim Ankuran. Today we'll be talking about COVID-19 and legal practice, lessons for the future. Our guest today is Advocate Mayuri Raghuvanshi, BSL, LLB, LLM, Advocate on Record, Supreme Court of India. A word about Arunim Ankuran. Arunim Ankuran is an initiative for positive social change through self-development. The goal is greater well-being and happiness for all. At Arunim Ankuran, we believe that each person is unique and special in some way, that each person can make an impact, that each person can be a change maker, and that's the inspiration which drives us every day. So you can't do today's job with yesterday's methods and be in business tomorrow. The COVID has highlighted this for all of us, for all different professionals. So the greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence. It is to act with yesterday's logic. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. So we'll be talking to Advocate Mayuri Raghuvanshi about how COVID has changed the way they work, what are three major challenges they had to deal with in the legal profession, assessment of the impact of technology on legal practice, and if she was to design the syllabus for future lawyers, which major skills would she recommend that they should develop? What are the three must-do activities for law students to excel professionally in addition to course content? So right away, we'll start off with, how COVID changed the way you work and what were the major challenges?
Well, to begin with, I'm more technology friendly now than I was 1.5 years ago. I now can read my documents on devices without rushing for a printout every time. I'm using my printer less and less as each day goes by. I am also learning to be comfortable in meetings online rather than, being physically present, which as a matter of fact has improved my productivity because now I am able to connect with a lot of people. I am able to, interact with my clients more regularly because otherwise we were either, updating them on phone or advising them the course of action on phone. And I'm I'm particularly not very comfortable with a call conference on a phone, but video conferencing and even now, with technology, I think I am now also becoming comfortable with call conferences. So yes, I am learning how to use technology. So that's one major change. It has changed the way I work. And the time that the pandemic has given me, because all of us during the lockdown, the courts were shut. Then even now, the summer vacations were preponed. And for this last 1.5 years, there is no doubt that the quantity of work, the number of matters that were getting listed on a day, I would not say per se quantity of work, but then the number of matters that were being listed had come down. So that has also given us time, because we are going through, it's like you are now facing a new book, a new chapter. So you will have to, it forces you to reflect on your own journey, on your own work. So that I think has been one of the benefits of the pandemic. So two things I would say, yes, that has majorly impacted me.
Okay. And you think these are some short term or long term? What are some of the short term changes and what are some of the long term? You see it that, even later on, it's going to be different.
Yes, I see change is definitely permanent. Change is inevitable. It's something like, and I'm of course philosophically the way it is stated in Bhagavad Gita, that's true, but even otherwise on a completely pragmatic and human level, this is the change that this pandemic has brought in the way we work is permanent, and anyone who's looking forward to join the profession now must understand and accept that this is permanent, and some of the things that we see now, some of the way we work, are going to stay.
Hmm.
And now adapting to these changes is very necessary for surviving and thriving in the profession. Of
Hmm.
course, once things will resume to normal, few things will change. Like I am hoping that we'll again have a physical court. The courtrooms will open, and we will actually go and physically appear in court. We will be able to once again have many, take the courts will be in a position to take, then they are now able to do on account of technology, because they're doing it through VC, they can't take too many matters. But a lot of things have gonna change. We have gone a genetic mutation, if I have to put it in that way, and that is going to change. So I think anybody who's now joining the profession must be mentally prepared that this is what's going to happen.
What is the one thing you miss about being there? Like I'm getting the feeling that you're looking forward to being back in the court. So what is that one thing which makes you want to go back?
No, I see. The way is what 1.5 years has done is that I am in court once. Even when I'm doing a hearing through VC, I'm
Hmm.
still in court. The only difference sometimes is this, that while physically you are here, you could be physically in some, and where some of us are not even able to go to office because of the pandemic, and we are forced to work from our dining tables or from our bedrooms or from our drawing rooms. So in those cases it appears that sometimes you have, once you're there in the physical courtroom, you're able to you're in that state of mind, you're focused. So it becomes it is it takes some amount of training, of course, now, to adapt and to get into that state of mind where even while you're physically present in the or in your dining room, your mentally and your attitude, your approach is just the same as if you were there in the actual courtroom. So it may sometimes become a little difficult, because you're mentally behaving as if you're in court, with your demeanor, with your manner, but physically you're not there.
Yeah.
Physically you are perhaps at a place where you're supposed to be most casual, most comfortable. So that is of course one change. Another thing that professionally is it's has become, I would say, in long run it is actually something good, but then sometimes you are stuck. Like when we were doing matters physically, sometimes right before the matter, if there was a new point that came to mind, or if I was able to find out a new judgment, all I had to do was tell my clerk, just be ready with this book, or take a printout, get ready with the copies for the judges, and during the hearing you could actually show it to them. Or when we were asking the client to do a compliance, we could, and we wanted to show to the court that we have submitted, there is a this is a new thing, this document has come now. We everything, because everything happens online,
Hmm.
we have to we can't, there is nothing you can show to the court while the
Spontaneous. Hmm.
hearing is going on. So you have to be prepared well in advance. You have to be ready with all the case laws, you have to circulate them, and there is nothing which can happen while the hearing is going on,
Yeah. So the
unless
spontaneity is gone.
yes. And I mean, at the end of the day, we are lawyers, and we are creative, and we are always able to find out ways. But by and large, this is something which has changed. So written arguments have become very common. We submit things now on a regular. We all are circulating notes. My colleagues are circulating notes before the hearing are listed. So that way, we are, our style of working is changing. We're now looking at things differently.
And what about your dress code? You have to adhere to that.
Of course,
It's
because
all the time.
the Bar Council prescribes a dress code, and even when you are doing a hearing through video conferencing, the code of conduct still applies. I know we are all seeing photographs, and there are all polls going around where people are asking us that are we, really completely dressed? Are we really wearing our shoes or not? Are
Hmm.
we only wearing the shirt and appearing in the court? Well, I
Hmm.
can talk about myself. I go in a complete full uniform
Hmm.
because more than I mean, for me, the first thing that it does is it puts you in that state of mind. The
Absolutely.
moment you put your band on with your coat, it makes you very it makes you ready, for the hearing. One thing that I do miss is, see, when we were appearing in Supreme Court physically, we also had to wear a robe over the court. During the virtual hearing, that robe has been dispensed with. So we only wear our band and our coat over our white dress or black and white dress,
Hmm.
and we are not wearing robe. So I do miss my robe a lot.
Hmm.
So I hope someday I'm going to have that robe again on my shoulder.
Yes, yeah. So, if you were to design the syllabus for law students now, for the ones who are still in college, so what would be the major skills that you would incorporate and why one is, and then also how they can work on those?
Well, I'll divide this in three parts. The first is on curriculum. So, one thing that curriculum now has to acknowledge is this, that if suppose, the virtual hearing continues, and especially for some of the batches, like the students who are in 2021 or perhaps will now pass in 2022, they will have to be mentally prepared to some extent. At least the 2021 batch has to be mentally prepared that they are going to work online for some time. They're going to address courts online. And even after this, I'm sure the arbitrations and some form of hearing or the other will continue like this, because we have discovered something that we have understood is useful. So we are not going to get, we're not going to, dispose this asset so easily now.
Yes.
So, therefore, one thing is this, that the students have to now learn to this new way of learning, working. And in our case, it means both working in the court, so which means learning the court craft, addressing the court, learning all the decencies and courtesies of an online hearing.
Hmm.
And secondly, also learning how to be technologically equipped to to run a law firm, to be in an off, to assist a lawyer, and also to be of assistance, most importantly, to the court, because as a lawyer your job is to assist the judge, to assist the court in arriving at a judgment. Now, unless and until you have that essential skill, you are equipped to assist, you will not be in that position, to be able to deliver your role properly. But what is happening now, right now, is that when we look at being technologically equipped, we often mistake it with the ability of to use a system, and
Hmm.
that ability of using the system is sometimes only confined to, I mean, when you ask somebody to do a research, what you get sometimes in return is only a Google search.
True.
So Google search is not something that you need. I mean, one has to, therefore, the curriculum has to now, because up till now, this problem was something which was not even acknowledged. So I think now, one, that we are looking at the syllabus, we're looking at our students. One, we must acknowledge and then we must address this problem. Why is it happening that our students right now are not able to read beyond the headings? Or they do not know that when you do a Google search, you may not get a primary material to read. And if you are looking forward to research on any topic, or if you're looking forward to prepare for a case, you have to depend on primary material. You must know what is primary material, what is secondary material, and you must know what is that you can rely on and what is that you cannot quote in the court. If
Hmm.
you're particularly which court you are appearing, what is that you can rely on, what is that you can show to the court, what are the kind of research, materials, what are the kind of documents you have to look at, is particularly when you're doing an online research. So these are some of the things that are right now, they are taught to professionals while
Hmm.
they join a seniors chamber. It is something that they learn through practice. It is not something which is I mean, we of course do have, courses on internship. There is a course on, some colleges also have a course on research methodologies, but it is still, not enough to equip them and prepare them for what lies ahead of them. What is expected from them in the court by the judges, and what they come prepared with, there is a gap there. And perhaps the syllabus needs to address and fill that gap. I mean, if, like, I'll put this thing in another way. There are so many law colleges, and most of the law colleges conduct an entrance exam. There is a very rigorous selection process that these students go through.
Hmm.
Why is it so that even after undergoing such a rigorous process of selection and 5 years of training, when they come out in field, they are not able to find enough jobs, or enough jobs which are able to pay them?
Hmm.
Why there is a gap in the earning capacity? I mean, why do the students who pass out are not able to, secure a financially, how should I put this, are not able to secure a remuneration for themselves? Let's put it like this. Perhaps the answer lies in the fact, in two things. One is this, that they are completely unaware of what they will face when they'll go in the profession. From the perspective of a student, a young student who passes out or who's in the final year of law college, most of them are, they do not even have a clue that what will happen in the professional life with them,
Hmm.
what is expected of them, how they will have to deliver, what should be their uh, plan, how should they look at the profession, their attitude, their approach, is they're completely clueless about it. So if you are clueless about it, it is obvious that you will be either disheartened
Hmm.
because you're not prepared, you don't know the ground realities. And from the perspective of an employer, like from my perspective, in all fairness, you also will have to understand the other side of the story. The person who passes out, my biggest problem today would be this, that a person who passes from a law college, even from the best law college, is absolutely, unaware of how you would assist me.
Hmm.
So they are not equipped. And a lot of time the lawyer or the senior has to spend on training
Hmm.
the junior, on telling how. And some of us are not very good teachers. Maybe I am also one of them. And where, we are not in a, I mean, we you are left at your own ability. If you're observant, you observe, you learn, and that's where you pick up in due course. What pandemic has done is this, that one, it has, uh, you know that whole process of training where you would learn your senior by observation is taken a complete hit, because now we all are working from our home.
Hmm.
So when I am appearing or doing a matter, my associates may not know unless and until they are in the same room, or they have also logged in with some other device. And as a matter of fact, the lawyers will not need junior while they're appearing, because everything is online. They don't even need somebody to carry the file or to arrange the papers or to even take a passover for them if they are held up in one matter. Because at the end of the day, there are only five devices in front of our face,
Hmm.
and we ourselves keep tab. So we have become self-reliant. I mean, when I say we, it means that the lawyers who are, the employers have become self-reliant. We are also not technologically challenged. I mean, especially the employers my age. who are relatively younger, we are not technologically challenged. So we know how to use a phone, we know how to use an online software.
True.
So sometimes we don't need anyone. We can do things at our end also. Therefore, at that point of time, the expectation and the utility of a junior becomes all the more important. So, you don't need now somebody to run around, you don't need somebody to take a passover.
Mm-hmm.
Now, therefore, the question is when quantity goes down, the quality has to improve, and
Absolutely.
that is
Yes.
that is where the curriculum and the school fails to fill the gap. So I
Yes.
think this answers both the questions in that way, that this is actually what is expected from a young lawyer. So the problem there is this, that when they are in college they don't know what the professional life would be like, how a judge is going to react to a particular proposition, or how they are supposed to conduct themselves in the court. What is that they will be able to say in a court, what is that they will not be saying to court, what is that level of professionalism that a judge will expect from a young lawyer. And for an employer, the employer is completely clueless. And sometimes a lot of employers feel that the person we have recruited is of no use to us, because the output, despite the fact that and there is a lot of, I sometimes look at this relationship like a strange parent and child relationship, where the parent doesn't understand what the child is going through, and the child thinks doesn't understand what the parent is going through, and they both are completely at variance with each other. So this is exactly what is happening right now between people who are in the profession, who have put in certain time years, have adapted themselves, they are
Mm-hmm.
looking forward, and those who are who we have to welcome now in the profession,
Yes.
they get disheartened very easily, because
Mm-hmm.
they do not expect us to be like this. And we sometimes find that they are, it's too difficult, it's too much to spend time on them, or to teach them, or to bring them to a level. And in this whole setup, what goes for a complete toss is the earning capacity, because in the pandemic, financial stability of certain law firms or certain lawyers is also become a very major consideration. So everyone wants now to say that, should I spend this amount on this graduate, when and if I spend this amount, will this reap me any benefit? They are not able to look at this whole system then in a cohesive manner. So I think that is one gap that needs to be really addressed. And if it is about what these students should do to work on this, I'll just say there are three most important things. One, of course, is please maintain a good health, because unless and until you have that endurance, that stamina to go ahead, you will not be, I mean, if you're sick, no matter how intelligent you are or how hardworking you are, the output will remain zero. And someday you will become a liability for your employer rather than an asset. So,
Especially now.
especially now. So, the most important thing here is this. So, no matter how sympathetic your employer is towards your health condition, you have to you have to have a good health. And when I talk about good health, it's not just about physical health, it's also about mental health. You will burn out if you are too stressed out. So you have to maintain a good sleep pattern. One thing that I do see is sometimes we mistake working hard, with not sleeping well.
Hmm.
If you're not sleeping well, then you are actually eating, it's as good as eating a junk food. So the question here is this, that how long? I mean, because at the end of the day, in this profession, unlike others, endurance and perseverance is what matters most, because the length of your career, the seniority will matter a lot in long run.
Hmm.
So if you are not able to sustain your performance, if you're not able to sustain your good work, so it's not something, that we don't live in a 5 minutes of a limelight kind of a life. You have to perform on a day one, you will have to perform on day two, you will have to continuously perform well. to really build a mark. So that continuous performance only comes when you have that endurance to do that kind of a performance. So maintaining a good health is most important. If you don't have a good health, you will it will be a hurdle, an obstacle in your career for
Hmm.
sure. Secondly, reading, because that's an occupational hazard. You have to read. In fact, it is my assessment, purely my assessment. People may disagree with me, but
Mm-hmm.
I have always found it easier to research online
Mm-hmm.
when I have read something, because online research is very typical, where you must know what words to type. If you don't know the right words to type in the software, you may not get the right answer.
Absolutely.
Now, knowing what those right words are, it's only possible when you are reading beyond the work. I mean, you generally are reading when you don't need. You always stumble upon the right thing when you are actually not looking for it.
Right.
So reading extensively is very important, especially if now that we are looking forward to depend on online software. So there will be no index on the books that we will be looking at. We do not have perhaps the luxury of having the physical book before us. So it's more important to read than ever. And I think lastly, you must be able to write, and write without control B, control C.
Hmm.
An original thought where you don't have to depend on the language. Can I mean, the whole question here is this, that can I express myself in my own words? So
Yes.
if yes, if that is there, so perhaps we what we need a change in the curriculum for the students is
Hmm.
this, is perhaps the emphasis on these things, the ability to for to develop an ability in our students to read beyond the headings.
Mm-hmm.
Because what happens is that when they're doing or reading it on a software, on an app, on a Google, they know a lot of things, but they're all in form of a short heading or head. Then there is no in-depth research on one topic. So perhaps we need to design our curriculum in such a way. And unlike till now, we have been leaving all these to the individual ability of a student.
Right. Hmm.
So those who have the zeal in them, who have that we call that extra knack, or that X factor, they have been doing this. So it's not as if our students are not doing this. There are many students who are doing this even now, but then it's their own initiative. We still, I mean, oh, but I must conclude by adding one last thing. A very learned man, a retired Chief Justice, once during a webinar, a question was posed to him, a similar question, that how can we improve a particular skill they were talking about in the student by changing our curriculum. So he said few things, but then the last thing that he said, it stuck with me. He said, but we have to acknowledge that at the end of the day, the only thing that matters is that whether that individual has a zeal to learn this or not. If
Hmm.
you have a zeal, if you are determined to learn it, then whether it is there in the curriculum or it's not there in the curriculum, you'll still learn, you'll still adapt.
Hmm.
So perhaps the whole legal profession, works around this whole thing. That at the end of the day, we are that component of the society that are there to resolve issues and
Hmm.
find out answers which no one else has found. Problems that have remained unanswered, we have to find answers to those
Hmm.
questions. So therefore a certain amount of innovation and self assessment of our own skills and our own situation is an inbuilt requisite of this profession.
So, coming from the background of training, and I've worked with MBA students, and they have this soft skills which is incorporated in the thing. So individually, of course, yes, students can work on their soft skills, but is there a need for something like this to bridge the gap so that everyone gets the opportunity while they are still studying? Do law colleges need to identify specific skills and bring professionals to the college or to the students help them to interact so that at least the students are able to understand there is a gap. They know that these are the skills we need to develop. Maybe they can work on it right away.
See, what happens is that it is not as if this is not happening. Law colleges are working on, and I know a lot of law college. Like I'm a visiting professor with Symbiosis Law College, Noida, and and I'm a working professional. I've been teaching there for now almost 8 years. So we are. It is not as if there are a lot of lawyers, who are taking time from their profession, and many
That's
like
very
me,
important.
we don't go and we don't do like one-off lectures with them. We teach a particular course. We, like, for example, I teach Contempt of Courts Act,
Hmm.
and I teach drafting in the drafting of pleadings in Supreme Court and Symbiosis. So it is as if we teach a complete syllabus, a complete module. So we do teach them, like, for example, when I teach them SLP, I do tell them even the practical problems that I have
Hmm.
faced. I don't just go by things. And when
Yes.
we, especially contempt of courts is something very easy. Like I always tell my students, the first thing I tell them in the class is that up till now, what you have studied, may you will help others with that. But this is for this foremost applies to you.
Hmm.
You as the officer of the court has the most important duty to respect the court. So this is my take, my skill that I have learned from my seniors, that
Hmm.
now I think is most important. And anyway, we all, when we look at the subject, we always bring our own perspective, our own gaze to the issue. It is not as if this is not happening. It's happening
Hmm.
with a lot of law colleges. And then almost all law colleges have this concept of internships,
Hmm.
where they go for they invite. And one problem that I do see with internships is this: sometimes the internship is very for a very short duration, because of the kind of the alignment in the with your colleges. So the students is only able to take a 1 month internship. But and most of the time, if that internship falls during the time when the court is closed, then there is nothing effective really happening, because we are also
Hmm.
taking it a little easy. We are also on a, like, for example, the Supreme Court is closed from April end till 20. We'll now reopen. We closed in the first week of May, and we are going to reopen now on 28th. So in all this, I had a light week. There wasn't really much work happening so far as the court was concerned. There is no court hearing. Anyway, we are doing it virtually. So that whole experience and understanding, learning those soft skill, understanding how a lawyer
Hmm.
behaves,
Hmm.
how one is expected to be in court, what kind of a life one has to go through, and what is that whole step that goes in preparing a matter. Because the in the courtroom work, that court craft is the final act in the play. There is a lot of spade work that happens behind the curtains. So before that final act, what
Hmm.
happens behind the curtain is something that you learn when you're doing that effective internship. But one problem is this, that if you're doing it during the summer vacation or winter vacation, so when the courts are closed, you may not be able to get that experience effectively. One. Secondly, online internships will definitely are, they are essential, and I'm not saying that they are not good, but uh, they can teach you other things, but they will not be able to teach you um, these soft skills, some of the soft skills that you learn when you're there actually physically in the court. And in the online, this whole system, uh, we are more focused, now on the research has taken completely new dimension.
Hmm.
So perhaps that is where the students will have to, I mean, when you're coming for an internships now, the interns will have no work if they don't have anything to research or draft, because they are not
Hmm.
really, if you're doing it during when the courts are closed, you're not going with a lawyer to the court. There is no matter listed, so you're perhaps, I mean, there is not much work with preparing of the matter in the court. But all you do is, do some research, draft some opinion, some consultancy work. So those are the kind of things you learn online. So that's why perhaps that those learnings are still possible. But yes, and so far as the internship program is concerned, the other drawback is this: if you're doing this like a 1 month thing, you are never able really able to see the outcome of the work that you have done. So most of the time, when an intern would work on something, the intern will not be in the office to see actually what had finally happened when the matter went to the court, or finally what happened in the matter. So they do something, but they don't know what is the impact of that work in the real world. So that's where their understanding, their knowledge, and their experience remains incomplete. So I mean, these are the main problems that I do see with the internship program. But they are definitely, the whole purpose of an internship program is to develop soft skills in these students.
Yeah. So before we conclude, just one final question, which is that, do you look forward to going back to the normal as it was, or would you rather see a different new normal?
I definitely would like to go back to the normal, where I don't have to worry about the safety of my staff. See, in litigation, we work in a sync. The teamwork is very important for us. Our clerk, our associates, our interns, we all work in a tandem. And one of the major challenges that we are facing right now is that we fear for the safety of our staff.
Yes.
And I definitely would like this to be just a short-lived nightmare, and we are able to overcome that, so that I don't have to constantly, every time I decide on a schedule, I mean, this is one of the first things we sit and discuss: how safe it would be for the person to go. And more than us, because we as counsels who are appearing before the court, we have to be stationed in front of the screen. But there are others who still have to run around, at least to some little measure. So one, of course, is this, that I would really love to go back to the normal, because I don't have to then worry about the safety of my staff. Mm, Other than that, I know for sure that we can't continue like this forever, in the sense that someday we will have to go back to the same volume of work that we were doing. And we will have to increase our output. But at the same time, good things must stay, and they will stay. I think the pandemic has taught us, to use our time more carefully, to connect to people at a more distance, to do more work. At least, even though we all I mean, pandemic has hit every institution, every profession, and we all are striving to to maintain a good inflow of work every day. But one thing is for sure, that there is no denial that we have learned to do more work in the same amount of time, because with the use of technology, we are able to do more matters in different high courts and different courts, because we are doing it online. All we have to do is just shift from one device to the other, rather than physically run. We are able to take on more matters, and we are also, able to, meet clients. The clients are also able to connect to us more if they are technologically friendly. But yes, having said that, I have to acknowledge that there is a technological divide among the lawyers, among the litigants. So those who are not well versed with technology are definitely handicapped. And perhaps, we need to address that problem. We really need to address that problem. A good internet system, a good speed is perhaps something which is as essential now as you know, as having a book, a paper, or a pen. So we will have to, I think, address those things. Everyone, maybe the government, courts, people like us who are employers for our young associates, we all will have to take steps and do things for, in this direction.
Thank you very much for talking to me on Ek Samvad. And I'm sure that students who listen in will gain from the valuable tips you've shared. And all the very best.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.